They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got three big old dicks that you can suck.
We are here. Here we
Here we
are. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about a couple things that, and I'm sure that there's several things you want to talk about on account of the world is exploding, all around us and nothing
Sure.
hits. But before that, I did want to talk about something a little bit more superficial, and that is, so you're a big basketball dude, and not that I want to put you into a corner here and have you have to say, yeah, well, I don't watch the WNBA as much. This whole what's your take on this whole Caitlin Clark Angel Reese situation? Like, I keep seeing stuff
Oh
and I'm
man,
like, I don't feel like Caitlin Clark is being that big of a bitch. But then I see some stuff and I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe she is. And then I'm like, is everybody just jealous because she hits?
yeah. So I don't know if people are jealous. Sorry, my brother's texting me.
That's cool.
Man, there's so
I
many
poop.
facets to me. I got into it with Nick Murphy on this the other night. Shout out Nick Murphy. His Netflix introducing just dropped. Yeah,
Nice.
last Sunday. You can check it out. It's very funny. He's a very funny guy. I think a lot of times when you have this conversation, you really end up having a conversation about who's fans of who,
Right.
and or what the two basketball players' personalities are. And then there's the third topic of them as players.
Right.
So to give everyone some backdrop, and I know people don't necessarily care about sports, but you might care about everything around this, which is
Also, it's
involves, I
women.
think, I was going to say, I think it involves patriarchy, sexism, definitely involves racism, and then definitely involves, like, I don't know, the conversation surrounding media and clout versus reality. Sorry, so here's the backdrop. Caitlin Clark was one of the most decorated and best basketball players in college of all time, kind of carrying a team on her back all the way to the national title game where she lost to Angel Reese. Angel Reese made headlines by sort of doing one of Caitlin's celebration moves in her face and then sort of being towards the media like, all y'all ever ask about is that, like, you guys act like there's no other players in this tournament. That makes headlines. Then her team goes out and beats Caitlin Clark's team. So that's the genesis of their quote-unquote rivalry. At the same time that was happening, Caitlin Clark was literally becoming the great white hope of women's basketball. I mean, it was wild. People who do not give a shit about women's basketball suddenly gave a shit about. I mean, quite literally. Well, sure, but let's say, like, quite literally people who were the loudest.
Yeah.
Avatar-wise, Dave Portnoy, Theo Vaughn.
Yeah.
So she's white. She's Catholic. Now, it's come out since then she's pretty liberal. But at the time, it was like a very culture war thing. Now, again, this is where I talk about, like, people conflating shit, man. I'm telling you who got on the Caitlin Clark bandwagon. I'm not telling you who Caitlin Clark is.
Exactly. That's right.
And like I said, it came out, I'm pretty sure, I don't follow that closely, but I'm 99% sure I saw a bunch of stuff about her telling people not to fucking vote for Trump because he was psychotic.
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of my whole take with it. Like, when I see everything, I'm like, it really seems to me that Caitlin Clark is oftentimes getting punished for who likes her instead of who she is. You know what I mean?
I think that's fair. And then I think Angel Reese gets punished partially for, like, coming across as kind of cunty. But I think as an athlete, you sort of understand it. Like, yo, I just won the national title. Why are you asking me about this bitch?
I completely
Maybe
agree.
it's because she's white, She also, though, since the NBA, and this is the next part of the story, so let me tell that part of the story. Since being in the NBA, people have made a joke that Caitlin Clark is breaking records with triple doubles, which is true, while Angel Reese's stats look more like Morsan Gortat, which is a random Washington Wizards player. What's unfair to me about that is Morsan Gortat averaged a double-double, but he was like, it was like 12 points and 10 boards. Angel Reese is averaging like 15 and 10. That's not great until you look at other WNBA statistics. Until you look at the fact that Caitlin Clark's averaging close to a triple-double, but with like 21 points. That is, the triple-double part's super impressive, but the points part, if you're going to do an NBA comparison, that's George Hill.
Right.
But you don't do an NBA comparison. You keep it in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is on pace to be one of the 10 best of all time, and Angel Reese is not. And that's true. Angel Reese is not Lisa Leslie. She's not comparable to other great big women. She's comparable, but she's not there. She's not. So, it's been now 2 years in the league, I think. Year and a half. That, what I just said is true. But Angel Reese keeps complaining about some of the same things she's always complained about. Calling herself, I think, as I recall, this is one of Nick's arguments. When I got into it with my buddy Nick, he was like, she's trying to remain relevant and get clout and stay in the media by saying she's Caitlin Clark's nemesis. She's her arch rival. And that would be like Morten Gorsat saying he is the arch rival of Steph Curry. It would just be ridiculous. I don't think the gap's that big. But more importantly, I don't think she's doing it to be to me, it's like, no, she believes it. Now, it's dumb, but that's
Right.
an athlete for you.
Yeah, you have to believe it.
And you say it.
Right. I mean, to get where she is now, to be that good in college, like, you have to have this mentality of I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. And that just doesn't turn off because you have a bad season.
Now, separate from Angel Reese, just putting Caitlin in her own little study, she has all these bandwagon white fans, and two things are happening. One is she is absolutely getting the fuck beat out of her. Veterans are saying the same type of shit that veterans in the NBA used to say about LeBron.
Right.
We'll see. He's getting lucky. Wait till he comes to my town. Well, let's see her do it for 5 years. Well, let's see her do it in the playoffs. It's the same shit we heard at first from LeBron. And you're watching her just get hammered. And then the media plays the clip of her getting hammered. So it feeds into what these sort of paranoid white people already think, which is the world's out to get her and them. And
Right.
DEI's coming for us all. That's not her fault either. It's not entirely it's the DEI people, fearful DEI people's fault that they feel that way. ESPN is 100% playing into it. Pat McAfee's 100% playing into it. Dave Portnoy's 100% playing into it. And I mean, kind of ironically, the old heads, for the most part, who would be her rival, not for the most part, but it's at least 50% of them are white. A lot of the shit talkers are white WNBA analysis people. So you got like 17 things going on at once, is what it appears to me to be, which is like a young, brash, great player is getting the things that happen to young, brash, great players. This one happens to be white. And because Angel Reese is a large, loud black woman who was, when Caitlin Clark came upon the national scene, pitted as her foil, it's fueled into that narrative. Angel Reese herself has fueled that narrative by saying, hell yeah, I'm her arch rival. It turns out, skill-wise, she's not. There are women in the WNBA who are better right now than Caitlin Clark. Some of them are black, some of them are white. Why does no one give a shit about that? Well, because it's not, quote-unquote, the story.
Right.
So there's my full nuanced take on it. I don't know.
No, I mean, I hear you. That's pretty much what it's really unfortunate because, like, I say really enjoy she as much as I can enjoy watching. I'm not a fan of women's sports. Crucify me. I don't care. That's fine. But the Caitlin Clark story was fun. I enjoyed watching it. And to me, it was like, obviously, yes, I would be stupid to say that race doesn't a little bit play a part in it, because it's just like when Tiger Woods came out and he was a black dude dominating at golf. Well, that's a big story because stereotypically it's been fat white dudes that did it. And I think that in basketball, it's similar. Like, don't get me wrong, Larry Bird backed it up, but like, it was fun to watch a white dude do those things. You know what I mean?
It's very fun. I will say that though, if you look at who the best players in WNBA have been year to year, it's got. I don't know this for a fact because I don't pay enough, but I know like it has been Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi before. These are white women, but I do know it's been Shamika Holtzclaw before too. So I hear you, but that's kind of what I'm saying is men, like frankly,
Yeah.
male sports fans.
Exactly. We think of that
fans
way.
of male sports brought that narrative with them to a certain extent. There's a lot of WNBA fans who've been like, it's not crazy to have the best player be white. I mean, Diana Taurasi was dominant, like fucking dominant, dog. There's another one from Connecticut with a fucking Italian last name who I can't even remember because I'm not actually a fan. But anyway, yeah.
See, it's funny because this is just clear how I don't pay attention to the sport that much because, like, I don't even know who those people are. When I think of, like, the greatest women's basketball players of all time, my brain immediately goes to, like, Cheryl Miller and Swoops. You know what I mean? Because those were, like,
when the pre-WNBA.
Exactly. That was pre-WNBA. Also, with Cheryl Miller, it's that she was Reggie's sister, so I'm going to hear about her more because I was a men's basketball fan.
And she might be the best of all time. It's hard because there's no WNBA stats on her.
Right.
But just in terms of like comparing her to her peers.
Her high school was insane.
Well, comparing her to her peers, the gap is so insane. But just like when you start pulling up NBA players from the 80s and 90s, yeah, but today's players would murk her. Like they work her ass, dog.
Of course, dude. And I feel that way about, they'll it seems like in every sport besides baseball, for some reason, everybody always adjusts the goats with the times. It seems like, somehow come along like Patrick Mahomes, obviously there's still a lot of people that don't want to say this, but it's like, I think most normal human beings that love the sport of football can watch Patrick Mahomes right now and go, yeah, he's one of the greatest to ever do it, period. And we've been saying that for 3 years, even when he was really young. And I think everybody would know, like, if you took Patrick Mahomes and put him back in the 70s and he had his same skill set, nobody could do shit about that. And that's not the dudes in the 70s' fault. It's just that training is different. And because of the way the guys in the 70s did it, they made the people in the 80s better and so on and so on. But like in baseball, they never do that. Like they'll still be like, Babe Ruth is the greatest. And Babe Ruth is the greatest of all time. And it's like, bro, like, can you imagine him facing Randy Johnson one time, just one time? Like, he's going to break his neck looking at the fucking ball. And it's like, I don't understand why they do that. But yeah, I mean, LeBron, put him in the fucking 80s. Like, I don't think any of those dudes can even touch it. They can't guard him, can they?
No, I mean, they could get away with a little bit rougher play, but he'd adjust to that. I think his career would be shorter, but no, he would probably average 44 a game.
They'll always say that with like, Bill Laimbeer, in Detroit or whatever. They're like, oh yeah, Laimbeer was tough or whatever. I'm like, dude, LeBron would just put his dick on Laimbeer's face. Like he's so much bigger. I mean,
Laimbeer would get hurt trying to hurt LeBron.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Bill Laimbeer is like a insurance salesman.
Right. But he was white and it was neat.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's my long-winded take. Like, do I feel like Angel Reese has come across well outside of the fucking stuff we're looking at? No, but you can't not put it in the stuff. She is a powerful, talented black woman. They do have, especially in the world we're talking about now, where white sports fans come involved, they do have they're held to an unfair and higher standard.
Sure.
But she has come across as like overly confident. She has come across as like, you're shit talking and you got knocked out in the second round multiple times. But it doesn't change some of the stuff she says about how Caitlin Clark gets treated in the media and all that. But that's also not Caitlin Clark's fault.
Exactly.
It's not Caitlin Clark's fault that she's beloved on the one side, and it's not Caitlin Clark's fault that everyone's like, bitch, you ain't proved nothing yet, and we're going to hack you all the time. And I do like Caitlin Clark, I think.
I do too.
I like that she exists. I don't know much about her.
Me either, but I like to watch her play basketball. And like, not to be super woke, but I think we all know it's true that like, if Angel Reese acted the exact same way that she acts and she was white, the people that call her a cocky ass bitch would be like, she's confident. You know what I mean? She's real confident. Why do you have a problem with that?
Yeah. It's almost as if it's all entertainment.
It's all I mean, it really is. And I mean, you're right that is the narrative that ESPN pushes. And it is funny hearing you say that about like, these are the two most talked about women in the WNBA, and to hear you say like, and they're not even close to the best ones is like blows my mind. But I know you're right.
Clark's much closer than Reese. Like she is the best young player. That is true. Like
I
hands
see
down.
clips, and I know that these are dudes sharing only the bad ones to make Angel Reese look bad. But dog, I've seen some compilations where it's like, what the fuck? Like how? Like
They
missing
can
wide open
do that with
layup.
most of the best players. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's just
But
just how it be.
Yeah, she's not that. But like her acting like she isn't some sort of affront to whiteness, Caitlin Clark, integrity of the game. It is what athletes do.
Right. I have one more. I have another thing that I wanted to ask you about, but first I want to preface it by saying I just found this out while I was at the beach. Did you know that certain lobsters or crabs, one of them I can't remember, but like they are biologically immortal, but the only reason that they die is because they grow so much that they can't find a shell big enough for themselves and they suffocate. But if they were able to find a shell big enough for themselves, they could live forever.
That almost have to be a crab because
Yeah, it's
lobsters
crab.
molt and create
Yeah.
a new shell unless they can't make a shell big enough, I guess.
I think maybe that's it. But either way, it's like biologically the only like they can't just die. You know, they have to would be
But it's
murdered by themselves.
Not to argue with you, but like in that dying, it's like, oh, the only reason I'm dying is my heart stopped working. Like,
Well, yeah, but I guess in our sense, it would be like the only like how would I if you're immortal, like biologically immortal, you could still be in a house fire and die. Like an outside element could still kill you. I guess the thing is like there's no other reason for them to have to die. Like a human being, if we stayed as healthy as we could for however long, you know, you might make it to 110, but eventually, yeah, your organs are going to fall apart. But I guess these crabs that just don't happen unless they're suffocated. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, what's your question? Other than that, I know I have heard of this.
Where you at on boiling lobsters and crabs while they're still alive? I've seen a lot of this go around here.
What's the alternative killing them? What do people do? Put something in their brain?
I've been wondering that. I'm like, do you knock them? Like, do you hit them with a tiny frying pan? You know?
Well, I think if you do that, you damage the shell, and then that's not what people want. Which I'm not saying that's a good enough reason to boil them alive. I don't eat a lot of it. I haven't thought a lot about it. There is something I made peace with long ago when I was like young and actually listening to vegetarians for the first time. Quick story. New Year's Eve, Australia, 2007, maybe.
Bro, yeah, that had to be a hell of a time.
It was, dude. But we had friends come in. I can tell you 4 or 5 stories from that night. I can tell you about the mild sexual assault my best friend in the world, who is hands down the best man I've ever known, committed. Well, he just was. He was just sprinting through the streets of Sydney, screaming "Happy New Year, you fucking Sheilas," while he tried to kiss women. You know, like kiss as the ball drop, midnight kiss.
Yeah,
who just didn't want him to. He did it to even a lady cop, and she threatened to arrest him. Ugh. And he is, and I'm not kidding, hands down, the best man I know.
Right.
Like he is better. Like whoever's listening right now, think of the best man that you know. I swear to God, he's better. I think he's kinder. Anyway.
That's crazy what that says about us as men.
And the time period we were living in, and things like, well, it's a tradition, and like
it's the Wild West, dude.
On anyone, he just tried to kiss them. And then if they didn't, he moved on. Anyway, but he kissed a few. Anyway, we had friends come in to visit. One of them was Teets, and it was around that time we were hungover, and there was a conversation going on. There were 2 vegetarians living there, and then one of the gals visiting was actually a vegan. And they were sort of talking about it in the kitchen when my friend Daniel, who's kind of an asshole, was like pushing them on why. And for the 2 vegetarians, it was mainly environmental, like, when I realized how much meat industries are currently hurting the planet.
That's horrible.
And if you go vegetarian, like how much better it would be, that sort of started me down the rabbit hole. And then you look at the health benefits, and then you know, blah, 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 right? The vegan was like, I also just have a problem with it on a moral level, to kill animals so that I can live when I don't have to. And I even, when like you guys like make bacon out of this pan, I'll clean it twice and dry it, because I don't want the sort of death from that animal on whatever I'm making. And then somebody said something else, and then my buddy Pete was like talking about the flatulence of cows in the atmosphere. And my buddy Kevin Teets, who walks in at this time.
Not the best man I know, but one of the funnest.
And he hears the flatulence talk and is like, I totally respect that. I prefer, like getting game from my dad that's been hunted. I like that. I just hate it when people are like, the essence of the animal's in the pan. And it got like really awkwardly quiet. And he goes,
Even though he's spitting.
He goes, did somebody just say that? And she goes, to her credit, she goes, I did. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's how I feel. And he just goes, all right, well, I'm going to go out on the balcony and eat some bacon.
Yeah, I mean, that's how, by the way, I'm not kidding. This might sound dumb to everybody, but like, I promise you in 2007, I didn't even know what vegan was. I knew vegetarian. Like, I'd heard vegetarian my whole life.
Yeah.
But vegan would have blown the fuck out of my mind. And I get it. It blows my mind that anybody can just give up butter and cheese. Like, listen, there are vegan meals that I like that I still eat from time to time because I do my best. With all the damage I've done previously in my life, I'm trying to save my heart, and there's certain meals that I'm like, this is good. I genuinely like this. Like, it is, like, regardless of it being vegan, this tastes good to me. But then, a couple days later, I'm just like, grilled cheese, what up, dog? And like, I could probably go a whole week without eating meat as long as I was able to have macaroni and cheese and like the green beans cooked in bacon fat. You know what I mean? Like all the cheat codes that vegetarians get away with that vegans can't, And then
I don't think vegetarians can honestly say they're vegetarian if they're using fat, just from my experience with
they do though.
But the cheese, I mean, the vegetarians who I'm friends with eat a fuck ton of cheese.
Of course.
Drink a fuck ton of milk, love eggs,
Yeah, and I'm like, how is that? If you're a vegetarian and your whole reason is like, I don't like the way they're treating animals, how can you then
to be
eat
fair,
eggs?
the two that I know, it was more environmental.
That's fine. By the way, it's fine to do any of them, obviously. And I'm not even saying, like, dude, honestly, if you make that your lifestyle and you can commit to it and you don't cheat, like, yeah, get on a pedestal. You deserve it. You put in the work,
But this reminds me, ironically, of the conversation we were just having about those two ladies. Like, sometimes vegetarians make a decision like that for themselves. They talk about it because it's important to them. But they're not particularly self-important. No more self-important than any other 20-year-old. And then people who don't like it, create this, or one or two of them are awful, and then it becomes this whole narrative. Now I'm talking about vegetarians. Vegans absolutely deserve everything they get. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, if they would just talk, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, going back to your question, at some point in thinking about those things, I have made peace with the fact that in order for me to live, something has to die.
Yes.
That is a fundamental fact of the universe that I live in. And people will argue with me like, no, you can become vegan. And it's like, plants are alive, dog.
Oh, yeah.
Now, like, you and I can have a conversation about consciousness and where you draw the line and all that stuff. I mean, PETA had this thing for pescatarians where they were coming after him. And they were like, hey, pescatarians, I know a lot of you will eat fish because it's such a much more basic nervous system inside of fish. You feel like it's not as bad to kill them. Well, guess what? Fish are every bit as smart as chickens. And a lot of pescatarians are like, so I can eat chicken? Fuck,
right.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, right.
Like pig and cow are out, but what you've done is added chicken to my diet.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
And when I was thinking about all that, like, I get all, like, I do. Like, man, you watch little videos of little cute pigs eating pineapples, like, it's fucked up. And like, man, cows will cry when they go to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
Like, this is the reality of what we're living in. And so on some level, I've made peace with that. And then you just have to decide where your line is. When I eat lobster, which is rare, and I don't eat crab because I don't enjoy it, I just don't think about what you said.
Yeah, I know.
If I was in a place or part of a culture that did it regularly, I might think more about it. I have not had calamari or squid
since you found out they dreamed.
Them dreaming and changing colors when they dream has fucked me up. I have not ordered or personally purchased pork in years. Ever since I saw little piggies eating little pineapples, and they became near and dear to my heart. Now, does that mean I haven't eaten pork? No, of course not. Like if my mom makes pork chops, it's
Yeah.
already dead, and I'm eating it.
That's
Now,
yeah.
whether that makes me a hypocrite or not, fine. But to your question, I don't think about it. If I was eating it regularly, I do think it would bother me to think about that we always cook these by literally
Yeah.
torturing them.
Right. Like at least with the cow, like, you know, they don't strangle it slowly. They stick the No Country for Old Men gun in its head. And it to me, with the cow, it's not how they die, it's how they live. And the same thing with chickens. You know what I mean? Like I was reading this thing the other day of people talking about like organic free range chickens. And this dude was talking about it. And he was basically like, don't get me wrong, free range is better than complete cage. He's like, but I think you need to understand what the qualifications for free range is. He's like, free range just means that instead of being packed in that crate, they're just in a slightly larger one where they can sort of turn around a little bit. He's like, what you want is it's farm raised. That's when they truly are like they can go wherever they want or whatever. And he's like, and that stuff's more expensive because if you have your chickens like that, by virtue of that, you have less chickens. You know what I mean? So you have to sell them at a higher price. And I'm like, I hear all that. All that's great. And then I think about like, all right, with what they were just saying about the fish, you know, the pescatarian thing. I tried to get this going for a long time where like when I was doing like vegan 3 days a week and I was pescatarian otherwise, I was like, I need a name for it that lets everybody know I'm not doing this because I give a shit about the fucking animals. I'm doing it because my dad had 3 heart attacks. You know what I mean? I need to be able to do this. And then if I ever mention it, people don't think I'm trying to get self-righteous. Because like with pescatarians, like, dude, I imagine that there's a lot of people that are pescatarian that don't think about like, well, it's fine to do it to a fish. They're just like, that's good omega-3s. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be a douchebag to do any of these, right?
You don't have to talk about it.
That's true.
I mean, I realize our job involves talking a lot, but if
Sure.
you're going to do that, then you can explain yourself. There was a lineman at UT. He's in the league now, and I can't remember his name, who was pescatarian, and they did like a little thing on him, like how much fish he has to buy every week because he like weighed 360 pounds or whatever.
A lot.
And he was like, I just grew up like that, and his parents were like, we just think it's healthier. They were like, you know, we do love cows and we love pigs, but like, we really just think it's healthier. I think there's a way to do most things and not be a dick. I mean, maybe not like war or something, but
the best argument I've heard, and it's also at first I was like, that's one of those very stupid arguments that the anti-PETA people make, where they're like, yeah, cows' farts hurt the ozone, and I'm doing my part by eating all the cows, even though they don't get that, like, because we eat so many cows, there's more cows. Like you're not, the more you eat cows, the more cows there will be because they get bred because you're eating the cows.
Unless you can eat all the cows so that there aren't any more cows.
Right. Like that's the thing is people that say it's like with deer, maybe it's different. You know, we have to shank the population control or whatever. I know that's the excuse they use, and I don't give a fuck because my brother shoots them and I eat them, and that's great. But like, yeah, with cows, if we all stopped eating cows, there would be less cows. You know, that's the thing. But this one dude, and he was totally making it as a joke, but it really got me thinking. I'm like, dude, that's fucking true. He's like, PETA said something about eating fish, and he was like, let me get this straight. Fish can eat fish, but I can't fucking eat fish. You know what I mean? And I was like, at first that sounded stupid, but I was like, right. So like, it's totally cool for a fucking shark to eat some fish because they'd go, well, they're higher up on the food chain. So that's what they do. And it's like, all right, I'm higher up on the food chain than a fucking grouper. You know what I'm saying? So like,
But
why not?
PETA's existence is the counter argument to that. What I mean is there's no sharks trying to tell the other sharks, hey man, we're better than this.
Right.
You know, it is PETA being like, well, we're better than sharks, but it would be hard for you from your position of eating animals to be like, you can't say we're better than animals. How do you feel about lab grown meat and its place in this conversation?
Man, I don't know if me and you have talked about this before, and maybe it was a POA conversation. And after I say this, we'll go to a break and then we'll continue. But me and Trave had this conversation a lot because most of our conversations center around food. And our whole thing that we came to was basically like, when I was at Disney World with my family last year, in the Disney cafeteria, they had a Beyond Meat, which is like one of the most popular, meat substitutes that's actually vegan or whatever. They had
But
a
that's not
Beyond.
what I'm talking about. But go ahead.
No, I know, but I'm getting there. So the Beyond, I had a meatloaf that was Beyond Meat, and as far as meatloaf goes, because with a meatloaf, it's not the same consistency as like a steak or whatever. It's just mush, and I think that they nailed it. You know what I mean? I really think they nailed it, and I was like, this is really fucking good. And if I could guarantee they were all like this, I could do it. But we were talking about how they're just not there yet with like a ribeye, because a ribeye is not just about the taste; it's about how steak feels, like the
It feels
consistency
like
of it.
murder. It rules.
Exactly. But our point was, if they could grow in a lab and I could take a test and I genuinely ate a ribeye and couldn't tell that it was lab grown and it tastes the same to me, I'm all for it. Same way I felt like with lab grown, because to me, it's like, if they do taste the same, you're an asshole for not, because we had this conversation about lab grown diamonds. I saw this girl on Twitter who like broke up with her fiance because he got her an engagement ring and she found out it was lab grown. And it's like, but it's still a fucking diamond. Like, you really need the death of the fucking little African kids in order for it to hit for you. Like, it looks the same and biologically it's the same. And that's how I feel about the meat. If they fucking figured it out and I could not tell the difference, I'd feel like an asshole for not just eating that,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's other conversations, I guess, to have in terms of cost, and when you're talking about feeding the whole planet, and then also the environment once you scale it. But morally, because like there's like several reasons to not eat meat, right? And the moral one, which is like animals suffering and all that, the lab thing solves that.
Takes away from that. Right. Takes away from that. And also, now I don't know how expensive the lab grown stuff was. And the thing is, Drew, prices are going up on just about everything lately. And being smart with your money isn't just a good idea, it's essential. But managing subscriptions, tracking spending, and cutting costs, I know it can feel overwhelming, but lucky for you, Rocket Money takes the guesswork out of it so you can easily make smart decisions. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. You can see all your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. For ones that you don't want, cancel them, and Rocket Money will do that for you. Like, sometimes when you go to cancel something, they make it very difficult because capitalism is hell, right? They make it, you got to click this, click that, click that. Not Rocket Money. There's several of them where you can just click a button. Rocket Money will do it. And not only that, there's a couple of them where I went to cancel and Rocket Money just negotiated with them and I got a better deal on it. And I was like, well, hell, I'll just keep it at that price. It's awesome. You can create a personalized budget with custom categories to help keep your monthly spending on track. See your monthly spending trends in each category to know exactly where your money is going. And by the way, coming from me personally, there's a lot of stuff you're paying for that you just don't remember. If you're anything like me, like I started with Rocket Money and turns out there was like 2 or 3 streaming services that I didn't even remember existed, that I had gotten to watch some Swedish documentary for putting on airs or something. And I'd been paying $8 a month for God knows how long. Rocket Money helped me. They've got over 5 million users. They've saved them a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving people up to $740 a year when they use all the app's premium features. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Download the Rocket Money app and enter our show name, WellRED Podcast, into the survey so they know that we sent you. Don't wait. Download the Rocket Money app today and tell them you heard about them from our show. Skew. But yeah, apparently for some people it is the suffering. But like, I would love it if I could, because my mom and dad, I'm sure I've told you this, they'll still eat basically everything, but they haven't eaten pork since we got our pet pig. You know what I mean? My mom was like, I just can't do it. And my mom's cool about it. She'll tell you, she's like, I'm aware that it's very hypocritical of me to still eat cows and stuff like that and only look at the pig as this. She goes, but it's sort of like in the South where like people will be homophobic their whole life and then their son comes out as gay and now they're not, it's like sometimes it just does have to happen to you.
Yeah,
sometimes
I think that's true, but also whether it's easy to make an argument that what I'm about to say is not right, but it's factual that it's true. And everyone does this. Even vegetarians have this. Vegetarians can be friends with people who eat meat.
Yes.
They can't be friends with people who eat dog. Not in this country.
Me either.
Well, my point is like, we do rank the animals.
Absolutely.
And so for someone to suddenly be like, I just give a fuck about pigs and not cows, it's not that hypocritical.
Right.
It's
You're
just
right.
you being honest about your perhaps immoral viewpoint. But
That's
like,
just
it's
where
not
you draw
like,
the line.
it's just like, I fuck with these pigs and I don't fuck with those cows. And that's just me, you know? And that is weird, but it's weird we don't eat dogs.
That's true. And also to give my mom
And
credit,
we
my
shouldn't.
mom doesn't think less of anyone who does eat pigs. You know what I mean?
So
She's
what
not
about
like,
people who eat dogs?
well, yeah, she would. I've never heard her talk about it, but I think I could put
But you
words
know
in
who
her
she
mouth.
voted for.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, like, and that's the thing too. I
Remember when we had
struggle
to
with
talk
that.
about that?
We can, but I struggle with that too because I'm like, you know, there are a lot of times when somebody will do something horrible, and somebody will try to, justify it by being like, well, you don't understand, that's their culture, and I'll go, great, their culture sucks, like that's not good, their culture is wrong about that. There's some cultures that marry 14-year-olds, their culture fucking sucks, right? But then I go, however, we just decided that dogs were off the eat list. Someone just decided that. And it's like some people have pet pigs, and they would think it was insane if you came and ate their fucking pig. And so in some places, maybe they can't get anything but a dog, So I don't fucking know. Which dog do you think hits the hardest to eat?
Shit.
I think a pug would taste good as fuck.
French bulldog.
Okay. Yeah. French bulldog. I'm with you. You want it. You don't
They're
want
not that fat. They're all
a greyhound
lean.
would suck. Let's be fair on that. A greyhound would not be good.
I think you're right.
Saint Bernard?
Might be good. I can't tell how much of that's fat and how much of that's a nice
Hair.
fluffy hair coating. Great Pyrenees would have a good back strap. People are gonna hate this. Let's move on.
Well, I don't care, but I think we need to be fair. We've been on the side of an animal, and now
to be honest, I think it's fucked up to eat dogs, and I recognize that. And I recognize that when Peter's like, well, I think it's fucked up you eat cows. I got to be like, yep, I get you. That's how you feel. It's not how I feel. That's why I eat them.
Well, David Cross had that great bit about how, like, if tunas were as cute as dolphins, we wouldn't eat them either. You know what I mean? Like why? Like, if you ate a dolphin, people would think you were crazy, but you eat a tuna, nobody gives a fuck. Like, someone a long time ago decided this, and we all have just fallen in line.
Well, most of it was like usefulness. Like, dogs were our companions because they'd help us hunt.
Right.
And then cows were easy to herd and they gave us milk. So we started doing that. And eventually we had to eat them. Deer were the things that we would hunt down. So that became game. Birds too. Like, we didn't eat dolphins because it's hard as fuck to kill a bunch of dolphins. And it was easy as fuck to catch a bunch of stupid tuna.
Right. Did you know that
Flipper didn't exist in the... All right, I'm in. What?
Did you know that pigeons, like, the reason why they stay in
okay.
Do you know the reason why they just stay in cities and just walk around worthlessly and have to have people feed them?
I saw this recently too, but I've forgotten it.
We took pigeons and domesticated them for our use, for like carrier pigeon activity and shit. And then when we didn't need them for that anymore, all the pigeons that we have now, they're just like, well, we can't do nothing. Like, we need y'all. Y'all are the ones that helped us. And so they can't exist without people throwing them bread and shit and just sitting in cities. Like, that's all they can do because we just fucking bastardized them.
Man, that's interesting. I've often wondered about that with city rats. Like, city rats are so good and efficient and badass in a city setting, but a lot of what they do for food is scavenge.
Right.
And if there's not enough food to scavenge, I think they'd be like, well, I mean, the country, to quote Corey Forrester, country mouse called city mouse a huge queer. Exactly. I don't think that they could survive in the country, but it's also undeniable to recognize how tough they are, but only for that environment.
Yeah, dude, it's like there's some badass motherfuckers in New York that are super tough dudes, but you put them out in the country, maybe shit's a little bit different. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different ball game.
I was thinking about that with breeds of dogs too, man. Dogs were bred from wolves to be hunting companions and protectors and herd and all these things that are super useful that for the most part, in most places we don't do anymore. My dog proved he could survive in the woods. for, was it 7 days?
That was a
8? It's
tough
been
7
so long.
days, man.
But he almost died.
Sure.
Like, he was getting towards the end of that ability.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, they don't have those instincts anymore. We've bred it out of them or whatever. But like cats, you see feral cats just be a thing. And I don't know if this is the complete reason, but maybe we've talked about this. Cats, they say, are the only animal that domesticated itself. Like cats just decided we're gonna go in that house. Like,
No,
fuck
well,
this.
wolves did it to a certain extent, but then we pushed it further. We invented chickens. I heard that was true.
That's for real. In what way?
Like we bred the chicken into existence.
Right.
Well, kind of like a dog. I mean, a dog's not a wolf,
Right.
but there are wild dogs. But I think they came in between. I think it was like we started to make dogs, and then dogs went wild. But I could be wrong about that.
I know I see this thing on the internet all the time. It's like this cartoon where it's like God, he's in heaven and he's talking to a dog and he's basically telling the dog, he's like, no, I have to send you down there without your angel wings. That way they won't know, because your dogs are actually angels. And I'm like, you guys realize that God had nothing to do with dogs. Like, that's us. God made wolves. A Bichon Frise, God ain't have shit to do with that motherfucker.
Yeah, that's pretty funny to think about. Like,
It's true.
Like God looking at a pug and being like, "You're blaming me for that?"
Right? Like, that's not like platypus. Sure, that was God, but like this pug with a fucking breathing machine,
where nature would take care of shit like this.
Exactly. They're not supposed to survive. They're supposed to be the last lion that's like sitting there licking its wounds that gets fucking eaten by the hyenas or whatever. But yeah, no, you ought not eat dogs. But like, again, why?
It's a tale. It's a question that has haunted our greatest philosophers since the beginning of time.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this: the
'Cause they're
people who were like, don't eat dogs. What if you ate a coyote or a wolf? You think they would give a shit about that?
No.
Right. So it's only the dogs that we made.
It's only animals that are cute or animals you want to fuck.
Yeah. Okay. Like
Horses
a horse.
don't get eaten not because they're cute. It's because chicks want to bang them. And I don't care what chicks say. A lot of y'all want to bang horses.
No, Amber totally wants to fuck a horse. There's a horse. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this fucking horse while I'm talking. Zootopia is like coming out with a sequel, which I'm very excited about. I don't know if you did you ever watch the OG Zootopia?
No, I haven't seen hardly any of those. I was kind of like, oh, I'll do it when I'm a dad. And I guess Rosie's getting close to being that age. But I saw Cars on a plane. I saw Toy Story. I don't remember why. I don't think I've seen many others.
Well, dude, Zootopia is straight up a critique of capitalism and racism. Like, it's so on the like I can't imagine anybody that it has to be pointed out to, but there's certain people it does. Anyways, this is the new character I'll show you in Zootopia. This is the horse. Look here.
Yeah, that's a hot horse.
I said, I don't know what the slur is for donkeys, but he's definitely said it. It is a hot horse. And like a horse has those sharp features, those like muscles, that like, and I have no doubt that like the reason that fantasy writers made what's the half centaurs, they decided to go half horse, half man because they were like, we got to have two things someone would fuck. And definitely a horse is one of them.
Yeah, I'm observing the news. I didn't create this story. People get very annoyed at me when I say it. I've said it in various places before, but that's what it is. We don't eat the animals. We have some sort of like human emotion towards. So it's dogs. We want them to be our friend. And that's what's going on with me and the pig. Ever since I saw the little ones eating the pineapples, I'm like, well, I don't want to eat it because I want it to be my friend.
Right. But with horses,
Andy
though,
wants to get a mini cow. And I refuse because I'm like, that's just going to be a pet.
And then you won't want to, and then you won't want to eat burgers anymore.
And then my son won't want to eat burgers, and I have to deal with that, which is
because giving a kid a burger is the best thing you can do. Shuts him up for at least 30 minutes. Well, with horses, though, I think it goes back to what you were saying is like the reason that we decided which animals to eat or whatever was like functionality, where it was like, well, with a dog, we trained them to be hunters with us, and a horse was your car. So you're not going to eat your car, but now we don't.
I'll accept that theory over the wanting to fuck it. I still think it's mine, but I'll accept that one.
No. I think it's yours now. I think now that's the I think I'm proving you right. It's like with all the other things, once they stop being of use to us in a certain area, maybe we decided we could eat them or we didn't give a fuck about them. But like the horse didn't get that treatment, and maybe it's because they were like, "Fuck, man, I want to fuck it." Because you look at a horse the same way you look at like a fucking Shelby Mustang. You're
Well, I
like,
was about
God.
to say, if any ladies are mad about me calling them horse girls with a horse fetish, think about how many dudes you know who want to fuck their car.
Oh, so many.
So maybe it's both.
And we fuck dudes be fucking like lambs because their pussy's the same.
I've heard that about pigs. I think maybe
Yeah.
I've also heard it about lambs.
Pigs
I don't
too.
like.
I don't
That's a
like it
fact.
either.
Like that's one of those where I'm not going to type that in the computer to see if it's real.
No, I can tell you that it's real because we have pigs and stuff. And hold on, not that I haven't fucked a pig, but I'm just saying this was
But
pointed
I
out
have
to me.
inspected that puss.
Well, I didn't. It was pointed out to me by they're my family's pigs, my sister and my in-laws or whatever. And one
They're
time
not my pigs. I wouldn't do this to my pig.
That's gay. Yeah, you can't fuck your pig. Okay. But I was down at the farm one day, and every time I seen pigs, I just seen them from the front, and I didn't really think nothing about it. And then
you'd never been looking at their puss.
And then my uncle was just like, one of them turned around, he's like, "Look at that little pig. They got the prettiest little pussies, don't they?" And he was doing a joke or whatever. But I looked at it and I was like, that looks comically like a regular woman's vagina. Like it looks just like it. That's crazy. Because a dog's pussy don't look like that, I don't think,
This is a hell of a thing for me to say as the guy who said we don't eat horses because people want to fuck them. This is making me super uncomfortable.
Well, I don't want to fuck a pig. I'm just saying there was like,
I think I'd feel better if you did. I think if you're like, yeah, I want to fuck, but instead it's like, it's almost like we're sexualizing something that we're not even sexualized. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? There's nothing wrong with what you're saying. It's almost like the Uncanny Valley thing where it's like, I just don't like it.
I hear you, but I'd heard that like the Scottish people talking about it, it was like, there's a reason that the sheep fuckers, they fucked the sheep instead of the cow. And it was like, because it was anatomically the closest thing. You know what I mean?
I just thought it was like dick level, easier to hold.
Right. Because on a cow, you'd have to get on a stool. I've thought about this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and they're stronger.
Way stronger.
And I would imagine, God, this is awful. I feel so uncomfortable. I'd imagine their pussies are bigger.
Yeah. Way bigger. Too big.
So.
Too big.
All right. Today's podcast is sponsored by therapy.com. No, I'm kidding.
Well, honestly, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to talk about this, but since we just got to lambs and sheep, I think goats are very similar. And I wanted to ask you about this because I just heard of it, and you're very in tune with the world of Appalachia, and you know a lot more about like certain haints and ghosts and old tales than I do. And there's some things I know, like we surprise each other. But
I thought you were gonna ask me about goats because I'm goat adjacent.
No, yeah, you are, of course. But have you ever heard of the Pope Lick monster?
Poke lick?
Pope Lick. So apparently, and this is one of those like I guess like the Slender Man or the Mothman, those like Appalachian ghosts and shit. But
I don't think Slender's ours, but go ahead.
No, Slender's not ours, but Mothman is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely ours. It lives beneath the Pope Lick Trestle Bridge, which is a train trestle that runs over Floyd's Fork Creek in Louisville, Kentucky, which is still an active railway.
That's why I didn't know it. Go ahead, though.
Yeah. No, you're right. But so according to local legend, is part man, part goat, and sometimes described as a sheep-human hybrid with goat legs, cloven hooves, a humanoid torso, super muscular and hairy, goat head with horns, glowing eyes, and a twisted, grinning mouth that walks upright like a man but can leap like a goat.
Does it play the flute and drink wine?
No, I wish. Those are my favorite. Those are the what are those things called?
Well, that's Pan and also fucked women. Like
that's true.
Sorry, go ahead though.
So it's said to lure victims onto the tracks through some kind of like mind control and can mimic the voices of your loved ones and cry for help to draw people onto the tracks so that they get hit. It also has supernatural speed and creates the illusion that the trestle is a safe path, which makes folk misjudge it and then they get murdered by a train. and he puts you on the train and there's nowhere to go. Some people jump to their desk, get hit by the train. They try to hang off the side of the wall and fall. And some of the origin theories, it says here this thing, there's no single canon story, but there are a few local legends that, this is my favorite one by far. It's the circus freak theory that the goat man was a sideshow attraction in a traveling circus, either born, mutated, or created via bizarre experiments. The circus train crashed near the Poplick trestle. The goat man survived, and now he haunts the area out of rage and loneliness. So I've never heard of this dude.
No, I'm not familiar with the Poplick goat fucker.
I kind of, I'm in. I kind of want to see that movie. There's no,
Yeah, it'd have to be campy, I think.
Agreed, or animated for sure. But like, there's not really, aside from like The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is way more comedy, they don't really do much animated horror, which I think they should. I think it'd make a lot of it more easier to sell,
I think it's harder to scare people with cartoons.
Yeah, that's true. That's 100% true. Do you
Now,
know any, do you
I've
know
been disturbed by them.
have you
but as a
seen
kid.
this is something along those lines. You do know the Appalachian thing of like painting your front porch ceiling blue to keep out the haints and stuff. It's
Yeah,
like mine
but
is
I
painted.
just found out it was for haints like 2 years ago. I thought it had something to do with bugs.
Me and you, but like mine is blue, and I knew several others that were blue, and I just thought like it was just a like, oh, maybe Scarlett O'Hara did it, and it's just became a thing. But yeah, I found out about the haints. It was through a Hayes Carl song when he talked about it.
Well, buddy, how I found out, my in-laws is blue, and Andy was saying something about painting something. No, Brian was saying something about painting under his, and I was like, ours is blue. You gonna do the blue? And he's like, I don't know. Why would I do the blue? And I said to him, I don't know. I think it has something to do with bugs. I feel like it started on the coast, like Charleston or something. My in-laws do it. It's a very like common Southern thing. I think it's like bugs don't want to get in there as much. It keeps less bugs on the porch. And I said, or maybe it's like heat. And he's like, that don't make no fucking sense. And we looked it up, and it was way dumber. It was ghosts, which is even funnier.
Yeah, well, don't they paint like they had some sort of experiment where they painted prison walls light blue or pink, and it like reduced tension and anger or something? Is there anything actually to that?
Yeah, there's a study on the shade of pink. It's the one that Mac Miller has the suit on, and whatever album that is, the next to last one.
Not circles, but
Or he's
oh my
sitting
God.
down.
Oh my God.
It's my favorite one, and I can't
Me
remember
too.
it
It's
either.
the one he did with the bass player Cheetah fucking whatever. Go ahead.
I thought he did it with Thundercat.
Thundercat. That's what I meant. Thundercat. That's why I said
Cheetah's
Cheetah.
the
I knew it was a cat. Yeah.
I think it's Bradley. It's a name, maybe a last name, like
swimming,
like Bradley Pink or Braddington
Yeah.
Pink. Yeah, there's studies done that it's my favorite color. It was before I knew this. This hoodie you got me that I bought 2 more after
The
to
Grizzlies
replace
one?
is this color. Yeah. There's something very calming about that color, whereas certain shades of red and most shades of orange kind of have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
UT fans have started a theory of, every fan base thinks that we get cheated by the refs, but ours, without reflecting on whether or not that's true or whether we believe it, and this is true. We are one of the most, if not the most hated fan base in America. When they survey other fan bases, we are constantly at the top, even if they go to the Midwest.
That's so
where we don't even
wild to
play
me.
people. A lot of people think it's because our fucking orange is so ugly. It subconsciously pisses people off.
Dude, there must be something to that because, I mean, look, there's precedent for this. Like, I don't know if it's the same now, but used to, it was always the thing where like red cars, like a red Mustang the insurance was more because red cars statistically got pulled over more by the cops. Even if they weren't speeding too much, that red looks faster or something. And like,
yeah,
I don't know
if if you pick red, you're a worse driver.
There you go. So, I mean, there definitely has to be something to it, but like, that's bizarre to me because I'm a Georgia fan. So you'd think that I would just fucking UT would like be my most hated school. They're not. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. We have a rivalry and I want to beat y'all, but like, maybe it's just because I grew up in a border town. So
But
many of my
it's just the fan base for one. But for two, a lot of your friends are in that fan base.
yeah, and I like them, and I like you and Trey. So like, I don't think that y'all are assholes. Like, but to me, I know Florida fans, and I do hate them. Like, I have friends that are Florida fans.
You're married to one though.
Yeah, I am married to one, and I don't like them. I hate them. To me, they're the worst. Or Ohio State, Penn State, fucking. I mean, you name it.
You're naming the others on the list. So
Yeah,
I think
sure.
we should acknowledge that winning, popularity, a certain type of arrogancy, which mostly is going to come from the SEC or the Big Ten. These are factors that are going to always populate your top 10.
Well, y'all don't really have that.
But like, why? That's not true. But thank you for that.
No, I'm saying
we're like we're like the fourth most successful school. You're talking exclusively about football. We are like the fourth most successful school.
Yes, I am.
And so I think that we're on the list for reasons that have nothing to do with it, but we might be constantly at the top because people also really just hate the color.
Okay, that's fair. Well, my point was that, like, obviously in my brain, I was just thinking of football, but I'm not saying that, like, y'all just don't hit. I know y'all got a national championship and y'all been better now, but it's like all the other schools that I named, the reason I named them is like, yeah, one of the reasons I hate them is because they were like blue bloods of the 2000s in the BCS era where like they just kept winning and it was bullshit. And like, yet Tennessee wasn't that. I mean, Georgia wasn't that either until very recently. Like, we also didn't hit, but I understand if people hate us now.
But I think that would probably make people hate a fan base more, because I think you're talking about hating a school or a program. I'm talking about just a fan base. I mean, and if anything, it's like an argument your direction of like, damn, y'all don't even deserve this conversation, and you all act like you do.
Yeah, I don't hate Tennessee fans, maybe because I know them and I judge the entire fan base based on the dudes that I know that are Tennessee fans, and they're all good dudes.
Well, let me say it this way. Oregon, the richest school in the country, it's barely close. The only people who come close are like Ohio State and Alabama. It's all because of Nike. They have 17 different uniform combinations. No one should like anything about. Everyone should feel like their fans are entitled. They've played in maybe one national title game. They've had maybe 2 Heisman Trophy winners, maybe 1, but they act like they deserve and they belong in the conversation.
Did Joey Harrington win?
No, Marcus Mariota won.
That's right. He was just on the cover of NCAA that year.
No one should feel the way they feel about Oregon, but we do.
Right.
Like, people like them, and I think it's because they're rad.
I don't dislike them, but they're obviously very divisive on those uniforms. I don't think
they're divisive. I think people think they're awesome.
No. I think that the uniforms are divisive because I know a lot of people that hate those bright colors and how much they change. I love that. That's the only thing I like about them is because I like funky looking shit, and I like that they wear a different uniform every week.
There's also been studies of like when the notification button on Facebook became red, there's a clear spike in like addictive activities on there. Stuff like that is sort of depressing to think about. Like, if you think about the lack of control we have, but it is very interesting, like, I'm going to wear pink today to make myself feel calm. I don't know. I love burnt orange, and I buy almost exclusively vintage UT things because they are closer to a burnt orange, because I genuinely hate Tennessee's modern orange color, and it does make me uncomfortable. I got to go in a minute because I got to do stuff.
Well, that's fine. I just wanted to say this one thing. Did you know, maybe I told you, but you're talking about the notifications. Did you see where that dude who was the guy that invented the pull down to refresh, like, he's the one that invented that, and now he literally wants to kill himself because he didn't realize how horrible it would be?
Yeah, he's also a dude who's written a lot about the sort of before we had words for like the technocrats, the Peter Thiels, the Elon Musks, sort of what we're living through. Curtis Yarvin is this philosopher king guy that they're all obsessed with, about how like we should run the country like a tech company and we should have a CEO and all this creepy fascist shit. He was one of the first dudes to point out that was going on in Silicon Valley, that it was becoming this very specific type of anarcho-capitalist libertarian mouth frothing thing. That dude's very interesting, but he didn't win.
Speaking of the Silicon Valley, I'm going to be there this week in Sunnyvale, California, June 19th to the 22nd. I'm at Rooster T. Feathers. Then after that, I'm in Fort Worth, Texas on June 26th at Big Laugh. Then after that, I'm at I'm in Lexington and then Charlottesville. CoreyRyanForster.com for those tickets. Also go to WeLoveCorey.com to get my bonus podcast where I put you to sleep. Drew, where are you going to be?
July 25th, I am in Knoxville, Tennessee. It is my first show as a headliner in Knoxville in at least 2 years, maybe longer. I'm going to be at the Barrel House. The link's in my bio. The next night, I do think I'm going to be in Kingsport. Haven't solidified that yet, but I'm going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee, July 25th. Come on out and see me. I think I got one more show in Denver planned, and then I'm not really touring until next year. So this is huge, and it's going to be a fun time. And I got some new jokes that are really, 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 really working for me. And I'd love to see you guys.
Hits. Listen to Gravy Baby. Listen to Weekly Skews. Listen to Putting on Airs. And thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew. Fart.
Rednecks, but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. We collected from our love of Downton Abbey. We collected, we found out we're both so fancy. Hey, what's the difference between rednecks and royal families? Only money, cause they both have sex with family. Ew. Putting on airs. What other rednecks to talk about foreign affairs? Laughing so hard that we end up falling out our chairs. Sir Trey, Sir Corey, oh what a pair. High class topics with a redneck flair, oh yeah. Two rednecks but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. Two rednecks but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. Okay, it's Team Squirrel or Team Trey. Oh yeah, we keeping it basic. He thinks that the squirrels at Corey's mom's house are racist. And you know squirrels live in the same place for generations. So Trey, you better count your days and you better count your blessings. Cause all the squirrels that you ran over, that you think are nameless, faceless, their families are getting together and plotting on you from the attic and basement. So even though Corey is dumb, fat, and bald, he knows how to avoid drama, don't get squirrels involved. Two rednecks, but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. Two rednecks, but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on